I mean, I grew up in Europe, so we always had, at the very least, we didn't have any money, but we had posters of famous paintings. So it's just really part of what I grew up with. So being fortunate enough to be able to acquire things, and also just, you know, you buy them and you can just pay off in 6 months. All those things have made it, I think, relatively simple for me to do it. But collecting it really is an emotional response to a piece to begin with. And usually within that emotional response, I can look at it at an intellectual level and then say, oh, I'm responding emotionally to this because of this content. You know, there's an historical context, or there's social, you know, it's just all those things come into play. When I look at something, you know, the connections of, like, when you look at a piece, there's all these personal connections that a person does. So that's what, it's so weird, you know, you collect, but I think it really, again, it reflects more who you are than what you have, you know, what you have collected is a measure of who you are at any given time. So it's really interesting for me because I don't really, I'll go randomly look at stuff and there will be a moment where something takes me. I don't buy a certain thing because that person is or may be or will become famous. I'm not interested at all, or this is going to be valuable at some point. It's just, you know, all that is worth nothing to me. But there'll be a moment where I'll look at something and it's like, okay, that's it. For some reason that speaks to me. There hasn't been a moment where there was a significant piece. It's more about my evolution as an artist and as a person. I look at different pieces and I can see in my house, and I can see how I have acquired some, you know, maybe a little knowledge on something, a little more on something else, and then I'll see myself just hopefully evolving in my taste, but also, you know, there's markers, and so these pieces become markers of something that I have understood at a certain given moment, for example. For me, it's all that. I mean, there's the enjoyment of it, but it's also learning from it. That's really important. That's an open-ended thing. So there isn't a specific moment or a great piece all of a sudden. You know, they all mean something in my evolution of understanding what art is. So. Actually, I was 18, and I was I traveled from Belgium to Paris, and I was on this is just so classic, right? I was on the Seine, looking through the books and everything, and then there was a full-on print, and that was my first. I scrambled for whatever money I had, and that was my first piece. And it was actually interesting. It was a piece about ecology and pollution, and this was like probably 1975 or something like that. So it's kind of interesting how precise some artists are. So that was it. It was my first piece. How classic. If I look at the big picture of it, I think probably collecting art is something that's looked at as kind of unique, or kind of like a certain type of person does that. But it sure as hell would be great if that was understood as something that should be kind of something that everybody does. You know, I mean, in the bourgeois life of the Dutch people, that's what they did. They had, you know, and they were, you know, middle class at the time. I mean, I wish it would be like something that was understood that we can all do, whether it's a print or reproduction or something. It would be great if American culture would just really embrace that a lot more. I think maybe that would be, not in terms of, again, it's not about making sales or all that stuff. It's just about having a commonality of culture and of looking at things from everywhere. And in this country is so unique in the fact that it has so many voices. So being able to maybe encourage that in everybody, I think it would be a great thing.